Recently, Sydney Schaef of reDesign came to Singapore American School to provide her expertise in implementing our competency-based initiative at our school. reDesign is an education design company that collaborates with educators and schools to reimagine what teaching and learning can be. On reDesign's website, it states that its approach is grounded with the improvement science and design thinking. So I thought it would be a great opportunity to ask Sydney about how she uses design thinking and what in her opinions about design thinking in education. She was gracious enough to sit with me and answer a few questions. Here's what she said.
Yeah, sure. My name is Sydney Schaef. I work for an organization called reDesign, and we sort of help folks reimagine what teaching and learning can be. Most of our current work is sort of split between sort of capacity building, working with teachers and leaders sort of on the ground and reimagining their instructional models and supporting what we tend to frame as sort of learner-centered communities, and then we do a bit of sort of design and strategy around systems change. And that looks like supporting districts or school networks, or even at the state level in the United States, thinking about how to support schools that are trying to sort of move out of the industrial age and create learning communities that are really thriving places for kids and adults. And then our sort of final bucket of work is around sort of knowledge building and sharing tools and resources and sort of lessons learned from the field. And that's an important part of our work, because we believe that sort of openness and sharing and transparency and hopefully creating some connectivity across spaces is really a powerful way to sort of help accelerate learning in the field. And so that looks like monographs and case studies and various publications, and wherever we can, sort of telling the story and sharing stories about folks that we're working with and what we're learning along the way. Yeah, design thinking is a methodology that helps folks move through a design process that is centered around sort of the needs, aspirations of the folks we're designing for. And one of the things that I find pretty powerful and exciting about design thinking in particular is that because it's sort of a codified process, it's visible, right? These are things that professionals across industries do to design, user-centered solutions for various problems. And because it's a visible process, it's something that anyone can sort of pick up and learn and try out, including young people, including kids who are engaged in learning experiences that are really oriented around problem solving and creativity and some of these sort of 21st century skills that lots of us like to talk about, that when you have a sort of a toolkit and a process that folks can really run with, I think that's really empowering and exciting. So I think all of us educators have a responsibility to continually reflect upon sort of the blueprint of our school models and sort of consider the underlying assumptions of how the system works. And remember that dominant school models in education tend to be built upon sort of an architecture that is derived from the industrial era. It's about efficiency. It's about batching kids based on age, as Sir Ken Robinson says, on kids' sort of manufacturing date. And that's sort of the norm that many of us grew up with. And so I think employing a design thinking process, whether you're an instructional team or folks designing a new school model, I think it's a really powerful methodology that helps us sort of step outside of what we sort of think of as step outside of what we take for granted as normative when we think about school models and teaching and learning. And it helps us sort of ground our decisions in the nuances of our context. Who are our kids? Who are our families? What's the context of our learning community? And how do we use that insight to make decisions about our school model, our programming, our facilities and our spaces, our interactions. And so I think, I think the design thinking process can support that work and create structure and sort of a shared understanding. It's also powerful because it's iterative. And if we're educators, we've got to be committed to continuous learning. And so employing this methodology that emphasizes iterative design, right? Coming back to what we've tried out and having moments of pause to reflect and consider what we're learning, and making adaptations that help us grow and help us improve the way we're serving our stakeholders. So at the school level, at the instructional level, I think it has tremendous value. And then again, or as we talked about earlier, I also believe working with young people and engaging them in a design thinking process is so powerful. Again, it sort of makes these invisible processes or underlying processes of problem solving really transparent and accessible to young people, gives them a language and a sort of way of thinking or conceptualizing design that they can jump right into, and positions them as developing experts in that work of solving problems in the world, of studying, right? Engaging in research. That is the empathy phase, right? Engaging in research as a critical way to gather insight, to begin the ideation process, to think about design and what it means to prototype and try something out and use that data to reflect and iterate. So I think it's a really empowering toolkit for kids, and it challenges this idea that adults are the holders of knowledge, adults are the decision makers, adults are driving the learning. Why can't young people lead that process and define the challenge themselves and move through the process? So I think it's exciting and has tremendous use for young people as well. Yeah. So if I were offering advice to a teacher thinking about using the design thinking methodology with kids, I'll give sort of a two-pronged piece of advice. One is to model the process with kids. So move through it as though you're the designer, or you're collaborating with your students, to make this process, the skills, the ways of thinking. I would recommend modeling the process with students and positioning yourselves right along with students as the designer, engaging in framing a real design challenge, doing the research, ideating, developing the prototype, trying it out, and so forth. Model the process for young people, and do it in a way that makes your thinking visible. So when you're framing a design challenge, what are you noticing? What are you paying attention to? What questions are coming up for you? If you get stuck, what do you do, right? So being really transparent about your thinking, or sort of what we call metacognitive modeling, so that becomes a model for young people in their process. And then secondly, to really create an authentic opportunity for young people to do it. So there's often a tendency to do some of the heavy cognitive lifting for young people. So I'm going to give you a design challenge. So let me frame it for you. Here's the challenge, and here are the constraints, and here are success criteria. But what if we walked kids through the entire process, where they were the ones to make the observations, to articulate the design challenge, and so forth? So to really create an experience for them where they have the latitude to really try it out and to carry it all the way through. And of course, they're supported through the process, but it's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to get stuck. It's okay to sort of even fail through the process, if you will, as part of the learning experience. So yeah, I think really explicit modeling about your process, and then creating a real authentic experience for young people.
Big shout out to Sydney for sitting down with me and just chatting about design thinking and how it fits in education. Please follow her on Twitter. The link to her account is in the description below. Also, if you're interested in learning about design thinking and how it can be incorporated into your classroom, please check out my book. It's called Design Thinking in the Classroom, and the link for that is in the description as well. Until next time, peace.